I think high school is a time where you're first finding out about yourself.
High school is a place to really meet some of some friends that you're gonna keep for the rest of your life.
High school, I think it's when you grow up.
Basically a proving ground.
Standardized education for teenagers.
It's the place that you go to before college.
Since everyone has an individualized style of learning, cramming people into these Prussian-style classrooms for 8 hours at a time and feeding them the exact same information for 14 years of their lives, or 4 years in the case of high school exclusively, is not really a good way to educate everyone.
I would define high school as a prequel to hell.
High school is a jungle, it's a competition, it's a never-ending struggle.
The main purpose of high school is learning, but nowadays it's almost, especially at this school, it's kind of become like somewhat of a competition.
If college is a time when you're supposed to find yourself, high school is the time where people tell you all the things you can't be before you go off to find yourself.
I can do anything I want here. This is like a little playground. It's a playground. That's what high school is.
High school is a necessary part of life. You don't always like it, clearly, and it sucks.
I just think it's generally an experience, but it's so different for everybody.
I feel like the dictionary definition is high school, where you figure out who you are and what you want to be. And I feel like, at least for me, I haven't had any of those experiences.
It's kind of like a microcosm of larger society.
People figure out academically and also just, I guess, extracurricularly what they want to do with their lives.
Obviously go there to learn, but there's a lot of social pressures too.
There's a big divide between the popular kids and the unpopular kids, but even within those two groups they have their social hierarchies.
I feel kind of like there are big groups, and then those big groups have smaller subgroups.
At the school, I wish I could say that there are words, but there definitely are cliques.
Oh, social groups. Well, there are definitely cliques. We try to say that there aren't, but you can't. There's no point in lying. We all know that there are.
I have a set group of friends, but it's just outside of that group of friends I'm really comfortable talking to other people, but there are other groups where you never see the people in that group talking to anyone else.
It depends on the people. There are some obvious divides. A lot of times you can actually tell by looking from the lower quad to the upper quad, where people are sitting at lunch.
It's not like it's exclusive, but there are definitely cliques.
They won't exclude you, but you'll feel very unwelcome.
There is that divide where you don't really talk to people on the other side of it.
There are still people that are shocked when I talk to them, and it's just I'm not a fucking alien. Yeah, I speak English and you speak English, you're gonna understand what I'm saying to you.
I don't think that you're shunned, and like I said, I don't think there's much bullying. I think there's sort of a class divide just in terms of how cool you are, but I don't think that there's a huge barrier. I think that I can still ask people for help on homework.
I've been to other schools and they're a lot more cliquey than this.
I think that a lot of the social groups are very open, honestly.
I'd say that the social groups at Harvard-Westlake are fairly integrated, more so than other schools I've been at.
I feel like the groups are established, but it's not like you go through some type of hazing to be a part of one.
Middle school, high school is so stratified and separated and really fairly rigid.
I think there are kids that feel really isolated or feel very an insular group. And there are definitely stuck-up kids who are just complete assholes who are just I'm super rich and you're not, so you can't hang out with me, which is the dumbest shit ever.
I guess it's a lot of the people you went to school with before that those groups stick, and that it happens to be that a lot of the schools people went to early on were the rich kid schools.
Money definitely determines who you're friends with.
It's they're offended. There's something that's gonna rub off on them if they talk to me.
In 9th grade, I started becoming friends with, I suppose you'd say, the more popular crowd. and I could have joined them easily, but I decided not to because one, that's not who I am. I'm not white like them, and two, I like my friends better.
But I think it's internal, a lot of it. It's not necessarily even judgment on other people. It's just like what people think they're supposed to behave like.
Like there are defined groups of friends, like people who are friends, obviously, because that's just human nature. But like I don't know if there's like exclusion or I don't know. I feel like it's not like you only talk to your 5 friends. Like if you have class with someone, you'll talk to them.
Like you could be friendly with a bunch of different people, but you know, it's not the same thing as being like in a certain group, you could say.
Like, I don't know if I would call them cliques because it seems like a lot of people move back and forth.
You could definitely be part of more than one group, but there's a clear distinction between the group that you're in and the group that you're a part of.
There's definitely a divide because what I would say is that there are people who you know and there are people who you see and there are people who you don't know and you don't see, and that's kind of like a general thing.
I find myself switching between social groups pretty regularly. Or I don't feel like I subscribe to one, but they're also present enough that people can feel like they're part of something.
People try to fit in, but then they also try to stand out. It's a balance.
One of these social groups, maybe the jocks.
You know, you've got your popular kids who like kind of party more or less.
The faded crew, they do a lot of drugs.
More nerdy video game kind of group of people. There's the kids who like dubstep, I suppose.
There's definitely gamers.
I guess there's like the theater kids. They tend to hang out together.
You have the more like low-key kids, the indie kids.
Is there a name for like I guess like just girls who just love to like go to malls?
You have the singers and the artists, and you know, everybody like kind of looks at each other like, man, you're really good at this, or you know, you're a phenomenal artist. Like, I wish I could do this like you, and then you know, someone else will be like, oh, I wish I could play basketball like you can.
The people that I hang out with are just people who enjoy being with me, and I enjoy being with them. So I've never really experienced a certain social group. Actually, I'd say that I've never really been in a prescribed group before.
I'd rather be surrounded by people that care about me and that are close to me as opposed to just having a lot of friends.
I mean, I have amazing friends here, and that's really what this place has like given me. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't really know if I'd encounter the kind of friendships I've had anywhere else.
This high school is completely different from other high schools. This is a school.
The homework is intense.
I do think it's different than most high schools, obviously, because we're like a prep school.
I think Harvard-Westlake does a much better job than your average high school.
It's really hard to try to like keep up with my friends outside of school because they're always free and they always have a lot of free time and they don't really understand like what I'm going through, especially here.
We do go to one of these schools where we're asked to do so much outside of school, and sometimes you don't have time to hang out with your friends.
I think kids here are more privileged. I think kids here study more, and I think are involved in more activities.
You're just expected to be responsible with a lot more than, you know, any person who goes to a public school or even other private schools.
Well, I feel like when I ask a girl out, I'm competing with their SAT tutor.
Even the people who pretend they don't care here, they do. They might like not pay attention in class or whatever, but at the end of the day, everyone is at least working for a B.
This high school is a lot more challenging, obviously. It's a lot smaller than other schools, unless you're talking about other private schools.
Because everyone lives so far away in the high school, you don't have like that same sense of community kind of than you would at like a public high school where everyone is kind of like in the same district.
So many opportunities here that, when taken advantage of, make this school better than any other place in the world.
The school has like money pouring out of its ears. Like, I'm going to the Gatsby screening next week. My friends at other high schools don't go to movie screenings at movie studios. So it's like, it's a different kind of experience.
I went to a predominantly African American or just like minority elementary, middle school, every school except this one. I came here and I was just like, whoa, so many white people.
I think from my friends and from other resources, I can tell that it's a pretty privileged, pretty preppy, white school.
Most people here have money, or like enough money to have what they get what they want and not steal it. So like if anything gets stolen, it's like you lost your English book and someone left theirs lying on the quad and you took it.
I think that the stealing, what qualifies stealing here is not stealing at other places. I've never seen anybody get their phone taken. And actually, I did see someone get one phone taken, and you know what happened to the phone? It was returned.
People here steal. They just don't steal important things. They steal books and pencils and your hopes and dreams.
I've like seen the differences. The school's definitely a lot more cutthroat. And there, you know, you can't really do stuff unless you're really good at it.
I think it's definitely different from other high schools. I think it's significantly more competitive than most high schools, which is pretty stressful at times. I'm sure many people here would agree. You can have a lot of those sleepless nights.
Between our school and other private schools, I think we're a little more competitive academically than most of the other ones.
It's not so much a competition of like who's the coolest, who's the most fashionable, who's like the best on the social hierarchy. It's also competition of who's the best in academic, who's the best at sports.
I think it's the most competitive thing I've ever seen in my life before.
I think it affects certain people. I mean, I know people who are driven by that more than anything.
I think the competitive atmosphere defines people at this place, and I don't know, like it's a dog-eat-dog world, and that's one thing that I'm not a fan of.
And academically, if you're trying to go for the all-around, nervous breakdowns will be frequent.
Everyone says like, oh, I'm competing with myself, but it's like you're not really. You know that like you feel a need to be like, oh, I didn't get any sleep last night, just so you can say you got less sleep than that kid that's next to you tonight in class. Like, let's be real.
I always have felt like people are trying to one-up each other with like Columbia, Harvard, but I really try to ignore it. I hate being competitive.
I wish it wasn't as competitive because, you know, the second someone says, oh, this person got into so-and-so, like, into this school, you know, people start saying, well, what was their GPA? Like, I didn't get accepted. And, you know, they start comparing themselves to that person instead of just being happy for them, you know? And that was something that wasn't really an issue, like, at public schools. Like, when I went to public school before, all my friends, like, would post, like, schools that they even got rejected from on Facebook, and everyone's just so supportive there because, you know, a lot of kids that go to public school don't even get to go to college.
Whether it's like grade-wise or socially, everyone's competing, and it's just like there are the lions who make it out here and, you know, win CIF and are, you know, first in the class, and then, you know, there are the little butterflies.
Being competitive is, in my opinion, a kind of big part of the school, and it definitely influences conversations with people. And I feel like if you walked around and you were just like eavesdropping on people's conversation, at least 3 out of 5 would be something about school or about grades or about a teacher or something that has to do with how you're doing in school.
It's just like asking someone how they did on a test, and it's just like comparing grades, and it's like talking about your final exam scores, and it's so important.
People, you know, after getting a test, sometimes I see people, and what they'll do if they get like a good grade, they'll like discreetly put it on their desk for like everyone to see, and like they're trying to like keep it like a secret, but like they like put it out there. They want people to know that they did well. They're like, it's called like the casual brag.
Oh goodness, it is so competitive here. The one thing for me that like what kills me is, you know, when people start comparing grades and they're like, oh well, I did this, and that, and I got an A. Like, okay, well, no one cares.
I am totally different from a lot of people here and a lot of people everywhere, but I feel like in the competitive environment, people just dismiss it. And they're like, oh well, you don't get good grades, so you're probably stupid and whatever.
It's like them versus you, and it doesn't matter if you're, you know, struggling or what. It's the GPA, the level that we rank each other. Yeah, we don't have school ranking, but we have a GPA that ranks us. And at a school where it's all about like that number defines who you are, you're gonna fight for that number.
You sort of start to care. If you do badly on a test, it's not just your grade. You're gonna have maybe like be ashamed, and you don't want other people to know.
I think some of the competitiveness mainly just makes me want to do better seeing other people succeed gives me motivation to perform at my best.
At that point, competition becomes a major factor because it motivates you to learn better and to actually do the studying.
We're kind of like always trying to one up each other and act like we're not trying to one up each other, and that this is actually some sort of like, oh, we all love each other because we're so stressed. But like, that's not what it is.
A gladiator fight. It's like you gotta survive. It's not good.
I think there's always that kid who doesn't want to share their study guide because they're afraid someone else will beat them or do better. But at the same time, there are, I think, a lot of kids who will work as a team.
A lot of people who are competitive with each other can either become great friends and kind of like work together because they have like similar interests, or it can turn into kind of a generally very stressful atmosphere that like kind of turns everyone crazy.
People try and work for the best grade, or try and be recognized more than someone else. It's kind of annoying, but what you want to do, you sign up for the school.
I try not to let the competition bug me, and all the stress that goes on with colleges and to bug me. And I try to do it just for the learning, but nowadays it almost seems like high school is just like preparatory college, kind of. I mean, that's what it is. It's college prep.
I do see jealousy play along when other people get higher grades, but that's the real world, so it's good.
The thing is Harvard-Westlake is why I don't think it's a typical high school is because I don't think it's a place for everyone. And I don't mean that a nerd and this person, but it's you have to be this kind of person.
I'm assuming that all the kids that go here were at least in the top 10% of whatever school they were at before, and that is a certain kind of kid. Yeah. And in that way, we're all the same.
It's really hard to get into. So, I mean, to a certain extent, everyone's got something going for them. People can pretend to be completely stupid, but there were a couple of kids on the honor roll this year, they're graduating cum laude, and I was just I literally didn't know you had thoughts. I didn't know that.
Everyone here is really, really smart, and even the people here that don't care about school way more than people at most schools do.
Harvard-Westlake, like I said before, is very good about creating the space for intelligence and stupidity at the same time. Not book stupidity, because obviously you're not here unless you've got some small measure of intelligence.
Most of the people at this school deserve to be here, I'd say, otherwise I would have dropped out a long time ago, because the school definitely, is difficult.
As someone once told me, that one thing that we tend to forget is that at Harvard-Westlake, we're surrounded by people who are like us, that have that competitive drive and are always striving to do the best and be the best. And we tend to forget that when we go out into the world.
You gotta work hard and you have to be book smart. And I don't think that that's a normal high school, and I definitely don't think that's, or at least I like to think that that's not life.
This school does not prepare kids at all for how the real world is. Prepared you gotta work and manage your time.
I think that Harvard-Westlake is a great school, but we're severely lacking in social understanding.
You learn how to be prepared for college, which I think is really where the most of your getting ready for the real world happens.
I think it prepares you for how to deal with people, but I also think it doesn't, in that I think high school relationships are very specific to high school.
For a lot of people, I feel like some aren't really adjusted to the outside world.
It's a lot harder, it's a lot rougher, and not everything's handed to you by your mom and your dad.
I'm not gonna lie, there have definitely been some times at the school where I've wanted to strangle someone. People say very ignorant things when they are sitting inside of a bubble, and Harvard-Westlake is definitely the biggest bubble I've ever seen in my entire life.
I actually do think there is an ignorance of real world problems at this school, just because a lot of the people here weren't really affected by the economy, stuff like that.
It's gonna be a serious shock when people go to college and they realize that you can't make a black joke if you're white.
There are people who are more sheltered than others, especially if you're someone who was fortunate enough to go to a private school your entire life. There are a lot of things you haven't seen.
I feel like kind of like if you grow up in that bubble of financial security, you're gonna stay in that bubble. Like realistically, like you are not going to end up homeless on the streets.
A lot of the kids that go here live in this bubble that's supported by the money that they have, and they'll never have to leave that bubble as long as they have that financial security.
Those kids will never be broke college kids.
I know there's a typical, like, I go over to my friend's house and I'm like, oh, when you said you had a big house, you meant like a big house.
You know, it comes easier to them. Their parents can pay for more tutors so they can get better grades, or their parents can open the doors for more opportunities.
The financial security, I have never actually thought about that. The problem is with asking me about that is because my parents are wealthy. I've been born into like a wealthy family, even though I don't deserve it. It was kind of just random luck, but I've never really pondered my financial situation.
I feel like people feel so safe here, which is good, but it also is kind of blinding because it seems like bad stuff is something that happens to other people.
Verbal bullying, that does occur at this school sometimes.
I think there's probably bullying. I haven't experienced bullying. Although there was a kid.
I'm not sure about physical, but there's probably verbal bullying. I haven't experienced it very much, but it's high school, so I expect that there is.
I feel like a lot of kids think Harvard-Westlake is immune to just like general violence of all kinds. And I know like a lot of girls that have been attacked.
I don't think bullying is a big thing here. I don't know. I've never seen like any like actual bullying occur. I think there might be people talking about people behind their backs, but nothing like really, really vicious.
The bullying that goes on in the school, both guys and girls, is very much how I would expect girls to bully one another. No one is outright mean to each other. They'll just like make a joke that hurts your feelings, but if you respond to it in that way, people are like, what, you can't take a joke, we're friends, like, you know, I didn't mean anything about it.
It's not like direct bullying, but it's like gossipy bullying, like so and such did this and the word gets around and people, they like think things about other people, and like there's also like exclusion, like if someone you don't like comes around, like you don't be like, oh yeah, like I'll put up with you, you kind of just like, no, go away.
There's another huge problem with anorexia and bulimia, and no one talks about it, but it is huge. It's huge here.
I would say that for the most part there isn't any bullying, but it's a lot better than other schools.
I mean, like, obviously I haven't been bullied, but I've definitely, you know, gotten jokes hurled at me or been made fun of for things. And like, I think I've heard from people that, you know, worse stuff than that goes on. I haven't really heard about anything really physical. I've heard about a couple things, but I think bullying definitely goes on anywhere because I think it's a necessary part of life.
Everyone here is really smart, so the smart kids don't get pushed into trash cans.
Oh, that I can, from experience that I've like witnessed, definitely in 9th grade I saw a lot of that, but as we've all matured, we've kind of stopped being so harsh with each other, unless we're like joking with each other, but I've never seen like super like hardcore, like let me give you a swirly.
I think the quote high school never ends is extremely accurate because high school is basically a popularity contest and life is a popularity contest, and that's unfortunate. And I feel like this high school will prepare the kids that go here for real life.
I think life is going to be awesome after high school. Obviously it's going to be hard, but I'm excited to be independent. I can't wait to get out of here and leave.
Life after high school is going to be awesome. Can't wait to get out of here. Because I think the main thing about high school is that it's really limiting. I mean, even academically, you have to take tons of crap you don't care about, that you don't like, and you're not interested. I cannot deal with stuff I'm not interested in.
I like everything about high school so far. It's been a fun ride.
I thought high school was gonna be like the movies, and I was gonna like ride around in my red Mustang all the time with my friends, and we were gonna go eat in cafes and go to the movies every day after school. That's not what actually happened. We mostly just do homework a lot.
The movies always portray some really exaggerated version.
I had this whole like, oh my god, movie version of high school? Like, is it gonna be like Mean Girls? Is it gonna be like, you know, High School Musical?
I don't really expect much out of anything. Harvard-Westlake was a good school. It was the only good school I applied to. And I expected to get in, and I got in.
I had no idea what high school would be like.
No, I never expected high school to be this way. I had to work a lot harder to get not as much as I wanted, so.
I didn't expect to find such like a community of friends. The community that I have, I didn't really expect to like bond with people the way I did, but I also didn't expect it to affect me so much. I didn't expect my grades to like take over my life.
I guess I kind of pictured it to be the stereotypical high school experience, and it wasn't. I guess one, because I'm at Harvard-Westlake, and two, because I'm the shy person that I am.
I think my expectations for high school, when I thought that it'd be like, oh, the work is hard, and you hang out with friends, and there you go. It seemed very black and white, but it's definitely full of grays.
I guess kind of the suffering in high school is kind of overrated. It's really, I'd say it's brought on by people who expect too much of high school.
I don't think I expected high school to be like this. I guess I just didn't expect to have to go through so much pain that I did, given like everything that has happened in the last 4 years. As like a little kid, like in 3rd grade, I thought teenage guys couldn't wear their pants above like their like thigh level, and that teenage girls, the rules about teenage girls would you have to have a cell phone, you have to have lip gloss, and you have to wear denim skirts.
I did not expect high school to kind of pan out the way it did. I really did think that it would just be a continuation of, you know, middle school materialism.
I watched the show Skins, and and when I like came to high school, it's just like, oh my god, the parties better be this intense. It better be just like that.
I personally have never like had any exposure with it, but like I know that there's a very big drug scene at this school. I don't know like a big drug scene. I don't know like a big drug scene necessarily, just a big party scene, which is no secret to anyone at all.
You know, I have noticed that our school has a lot of drugs.
A lot of people here do drugs. And if you just talk about illegal drugs versus prescription drugs that are taken illegally, a lot of kids here do drugs.
I think a lot of peer pressure goes on about drugs and stuff because a lot of really wealthy kids here can get their hands on literally anything.
I have absolutely no idea how much drug is used in this school.
I think the majority of people partake in drug or alcoholic activities.
I'm aware of drug use at Harvard-Westlake, but between talking to my friends who go to public school and kids who go to Harvard-Westlake, it's way less commonplace.
I think when people are put under stress, they do things that they normally wouldn't do. And the kids here are put under a lot of stress, so they just go on and do drugs if they want to.
Like, I feel like a lot of kids here are also really deep thinkers, and for them, sort of the limited nature of what life can be might push you towards drugs.
There's a lot of potheads at this school. There's a lot of wannabe potheads.
It was really funny though, the first time I walked into class and someone was stoned.
I think that like high school is just kind of that time where like, oh, like weed, let's do drugs and see what happens.
I think that it's whatever. Like it's high school, like people are gonna do drugs.
They're here, they're going around, and people do them. But like no one's doing like, ecstasy every night or something, but it's here.
I learned to let things, honestly that's what Harvard-Westlake does. It teaches you to let things go, it teaches you to fail, and it really, it's just like, it's like you went through a juicer. It's just like so crazy and really hard. So then, I don't know, it's funny because it kind of gives me hope for like what's coming afterwards.
You could How would I define high school? It's like you got a van you get kidnapped in.
How would you describe the social groups at Harvard-Westlake?
Like the four corners of the van.
Is there a difference between elementary school and high school?
my mom always says high school is the best years of your life. If these are the best years of my life, we have a problem.
There's that phrase that says high school never ends.
Yeah, I really hope it does, honestly.
I hated middle school. I feel like that was 10 times worse than high school. Middle school was the worst 3 years, like, ever.
Alright, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else you want to add?